Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and welcome to another video in our series, Use What You Have. Today I'm looking at showing you some die cut scrap hacks, ways to use your paper scraps left over after you've used your die cut machine. And if you've been scrapbooking or paper crafting or card making for a while, it's no doubt that you have a Big Shot or a Cuttlebug or a Cricut or a Vagabond or some sort of die cutting machine, and they make great cutouts. It's really fun to use, but then you end up with all these extra scraps, and I'm sure there's lots of tutorials and videos and ideas out there, but I think sometimes we just forget, and so we end up with a pile of scraps. And so I've got a few easy ways for you to make use of these die cut scraps and make some really great looking paper craft projects. So stick around. Hello peers. Let's take a look at what we can do with these leftover scraps after you have used a die cutter. One thing that you can do that's really awesome is to use it as a stencil. And it seems obvious. You know, you could put down these are all scraps from a die cutter. And here are some pre-cut, meaning I pre-cut them before I started filming. Just regular pieces of cardstock, although this is a paint sample, you know, like how you can pick up the paint samples from stores, and I like to cut them to fit this same size. And I'm going to put a link to my basic card making video in the description box so you can get the dimensions and things like that if you're interested. But regardless, you can use these die cut scraps as a stencil. Like let me just grab this here and just this scrap. Now certainly you could use ink, any kind of distress ink or any kind of ink, and a blending tool, and just go right through and pull up a stencil. Or you could use a texture paste, and this is a Liquitex modeling paste. This is a Ranger texture paste, and this is a homemade texture paste, and all of them work just fine. I think I'm going to show you two different things of what I'm talking about. You could do, I'll use this first just with a palette knife, and I'm trying to work quickly so I can show you as many as possible. This is just the regular old paper die cut where I cut out a bunch of leaves and used them on another project, but just simply pushing the text just as you would any other stencil. The only thing is you don't have to push quite as hard. This is more of a gliding than a pushing, because your stencil is made of paper, not that acetate stencil, but it really works just as well. Look at that. And then you've got another whole use out of your scrap. Now you could still, I know I wasted a lot, I know, I ordinarily would go back over that. You could still, once this dries, then you can continue to, you've got a nice texture right there. Look at that. See? You can ink over that. You can do lots of other things with that. In fact, I'll put it to the side and maybe finish off something with that in a few minutes as I just shove it over to the side. Okay, let me wipe this off. You could also do, it's the same technique. This is the Ranger texture paste. It does come in a matte and a crackle, and this is the glossy, the one that I had. I'm sorry, transparent gloss is the one I had on hand. And you know what I thought would be, great? Let me get this other one and do this right here. And since this is from Ranger, let me get another Ranger product. Here's a distress crayon. Should we use this color? Sure. I'm gonna pull up just a little bit of a distress crayon and just pull off just a bit onto a craft mat. If you don't have a craft mat, you could use like a silicone baking sheet if you have one in your kitchen, or even some wax paper if you absolutely had to, and look what I did. I should have done this in a reverse order. Let me get a popsicle stick here. I'm trying to avoid sticking my purple palette knife into the texture paste. So let me get a craft stick. Okay. And here's the idea, is I'm just going to mix, this is just a little bit of Distress crayon, mix it up with a little bit of the transparent gloss texture paste. Look at that. And now I have a purple glossy texture paste. And I can just lay, this is just cardstock in the same kind of sample scrap, and just pull a big pile. And again, I'm going to glide, not push real hard, just glide. Now if you could tape down this paper with some washi tape or something like that. I'm just holding it, but yeah, just like that. Now, and this is what I was trying to say that I should have done before. It's just taking off that excess. And then when you pull it up, look at that. Isn't that awesome? I love that. This is, now, can you see how differently these will dry because of their textures? This one, just because it's wet, oh, look what I did. Just because it's wet, it still will dry with a gloss, not just because it's wet, that's what I meant to say. And this one, because of the finish, will dry matte. But still, you could certainly color with the Distress crayon, or if you have gelatos or something like that. It should work with any other kind of texture paste. Look at that. And now this is just something, we didn't have to go out and buy any special stencil, because this is our die cut, our scrap. And you know what? Once this dries, we could still even use it again, I bet. You know, you could get another use out of that. Works just fine with a homemade texture paste too, if you have it. So one way you could use your scraps is to use them as a stencil. You know, before I move on, I thought maybe I should spend just a little bit of time on, because I just sort of glossed over talking about pushing ink through a stencil, and I went right to the texture paste. But this was another, and again, when I say stencil, we're still talking about the die cut, the part of the paper that's left over after you've die cut a shape out. And this was one, and I just used a tool to push some Distress Oxide inks through, and I thought it looked really cool. Then I was playing with this one. This, you can see I've been playing with it. This just singular die cut shape, and I want to show you what I did is so neat. First of all, I did one with the Distress ink on this craft cardstock, and you can't see it too well, although the Distress Oxides do show up on all kinds of surfaces, but they show up differently on all the surfaces. So certainly you could do this on white or something, and I want to do this differently. This was one where I took the blending tool and put this over top and then pushed the ink through like this and then spritzed it with water. But you know what I'm going to do this time? I'm going to do that same thing. Let me do this. This is just a plain piece of cardstock. I guess it doesn't really matter what side I use. We'll use a cleaner side, okay? And I know I say I don't use washi tape much because I'm lazy. But with this one, I think I will. So I just laid it down, and I am going to put a piece or two of washi tape because I don't want this to slide. This is on the back. And then here's the die cut piece on the front. And then I'm going to take an Oxide ink. Here, this is Worn Lipstick and a Broken China. Oh, goodness. And a fossilized amber. Just right down on the craft mat and spray it a little bit with water. This is my Distress sprayer. And now, remember we washi taped this on the back. of this piece of paper. And we're just talking about paper. So there's a lot of water involved. And I do have a heat gun that I'm going to try to dry between layers, and I'm just going to press it and then press it just like that. And I'm going to dry this layer quick. And that is quick. And then I'm just going to continue on. But you know what I want to be mindful of? I want to try to get some blue over here and go this way. See that? Ooh, maybe a little bit more blue. Yeah. Yeah, like that. And pink where I didn't have pink. And then I'm going to dry that. It's not that wet. Isn't that neat? It's just that I don't want to make mud, that's all. And let's see, let's do pink right there. Yeah, that's cool. And I think I'm happy with just that. That's neat. Now normally I would do something until all this ink was used up, but just for time's sake I'm going to use a baby wipe, and then later I'll use that baby wipe to do something else because I think the colors in the baby wipe are pretty cool. Alright, so here I have this, and now what I can do is take, this is not an Oxide, this is just a regular Distress ink, and I can use brown, of course, and just give a little hint of brown. Of course, if I was Tim Holtz himself, I would probably have 3 different shades of brown in my project at all times. That's a joke. And now we have that. Now I could do a little bit more water if I wanted to, just to, you know, to get the look I wanted. But look. Woo, look at that. Isn't that neat? And it's just basic stenciling, but I just think sometimes that we forget that the shapes we're left over with can become the stencils too. That is neat. Cool. Neat background. And you know, I have all these card bases pre-cut. And again, if I didn't mention already, I have a link in my description box here to the dimensions for cutting. But look at that. Now I could just pop that right on there and put some embellishments and a sentiment and go, that is neat. Or I could do it this way. Neat. Another way for you to use your die cut scraps is to use them as a faux texture paste. In other words, kind of like an overlay or as part of the project to maybe tone down loud papers or just to add some interest or some dimension. And for this, I'm going to use, let's see, I had these laying out because they're different. This one actually came out of my Cricut and this came out of my Big Shot. So, and I thought this, because it's the onesies. Now I'm not going to actually go through and make these projects all the way through to the end, but I did want to look, I love this paper so much. This is by Die Cuts with a View. Little Miss Stack. And I thought, if you're a scrapbooker, maybe you can imagine, can you see this paper okay? Let me do that. Like, for example, let's see, like this, for example, maybe if you have something like this, maybe you just want to lay it down on your, let's say this is your background paper, or let's say you even used a part of this paper. You could just lay this down, this scrap, and adhere it to there and make it just another layer of your page, and then continue to layer pictures, paper, and so on over top, and that just might give a little bit of neat interest. If you think it looks too busy, You might try some paint. You know what? Let me just show you what I mean. I'm just thinking, this is so pretty. I'm sorry, I get distracted by paper. Are any of you out there the kind of people where you just have to touch paper? I do. I just have to touch paper. And then look what I did. I lost my I lost my die cut in the middle of the stack because I got so distracted. That's cute too. That doesn't even have to be a baby page because I like that. Yeah, this is cute. Okay, sorry. I get distracted. This is a baby page. Let me just show you what I mean. I'm not doing any huge project all the way through. I'm not going to cut the paper. I'll cut it later because I always cut this off. Just as a note, when I'm scrapbooking, I always make sure that the paper is about 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Just a little under the standard 12 by 12 size. That is just me. Because then when I fill up an album, it won't buckle or bunch or anything like that. Let me move this other stencil. This is an advanced tape glider by Scotch, otherwise known as an ATG gun. And I am just going to go right like this. I'm not going to be super careful now for time's sake. I'm not, oops, what is that? A little scrap of something. Okay. Okay. And even though I got some of the adhesive right through, if I just push with my finger, that'll back it up out of the way. That's good for now. It doesn't have to be all crazy. Oh, excuse me, that was in my notifications. Now, if I just went like this, let's say I'm starting a scrapbook page. Let's just say I'm imagining that piece being cut off. Okay. And I lay it down. Now, that's nice. Now, I have I'm a fan of using acrylic paint. I'm going to use 2 different colors I just have on hand. This is matte white. I also use it in place of a gesso. There, that might be better. And then I have this bamboo color. Okay? And, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I'd be so embarrassed if this was all dried up. Okay, good. And I have a palette knife, and I'm just going to get just a bit like this and just go right over this. This is a similar, now that I'm remembering it, I did the same kind of thing in one of my other videos in this Use What You Have series, but it was about using old letter stickers because it's really the same idea, and you can still get this certain look, sort of that, that grungy, bohemian kind of tattered, distressed kind of look. Okay, and that still gives, you could put some over here if you want, just to make it look like you meant to have that on the paper. The palette knife, you know what, while I have this out, let me see how the butter knife works. I've never done it with a butter knife. Okay, it's similar, but the palette knife does work better because you can just glide it. That's just my opinion. You could also use a brayer if you have one, and just give it some dimension. Now, again, the purpose is not the paint that I'm showing you. It's using this piece as sort of a faux texture paste. Now you can imagine, putting things here, and so on, and continuing your page. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. The reason why I took the time to show you all the detail with the paint is because, did you see how I wasn't really perfect with the adhesive underneath there when I was adhering this down? The paint will actually help adhere it down, and as long as you're not using like vintage original photos, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right with your photos. The same principle is gonna apply to a piece like this. let's say, for example, here's another stack. I love this too. Oh, I didn't realize it was die cuts with a view too. Okay, that's great. This is all just black and white. All just black and white. This would be great for a wedding or just I don't know, a prom or just some nice, you know what this is good for? This is good for making an album ahead of time that has no event attached to it and leaving room for your own pictures. And then when the event comes up, you can sort of customize and embellish the album to fit the event because you've got a nice black and white sort of base background there. And let's see here. Oh my goodness sakes. Now that's some loud paper right there. Woo! Oh, look. Either way, let me put something here so that I can come back to this one. Now imagine this on a card, putting this over a card. You know what? Let me just do it. And I'll just do it on one because you'll get the idea. I don't want to take up all your time. But let's just do it on one. Now again, the dimensions here that I'm cutting, this is at 4 and this is at 5 1/4. I do that pretty standard because that's an overlay for me, like a standard overlay for me. And then I have pre-cut cards that I do when I'm bored or feel like it. See, look at that. And again, I'll put that link in the description box because then your card making goes so quick. Look. Oh, look how nice that is. And I said it was a faux texture paste. I guess, yeah, I have to, let me do this all the way through. The paint is really the issue. I think that's why I call it the texture paste. Plus, when you have the, this is just right on the card base. Okay, see how quick that was? If you have those pre-cut in advance, then your card making will go this quickly, and you can spend more time on the cool embellishments and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I don't realize you probably couldn't see that too well. Okay, and this over top. Look. That's so nice. That is a great card start. Super. It kind of tones down the busyness of the paper. I call it a faux texture paste. It's really more like a frame. And what would happen if I added some white paint to it? I can hear the yelling almost through the video going, don't add paint to that. It looks fine. Well, I agree that it looks fine. I just want to see what it would look like with the paint. Let's just see. This is matte acrylic, not glossy. Let's see. I don't know how I feel about this yet. I don't know. Okay, well, again, I'm not trying to create a raised base like sorry about that. I really do like this. This is, I really like this look here with this paint. It just kind of softens it, and because of the paint, to me it makes it look like it's all one, like I didn't put a piece on top, but that it's meant to go together. And same is true with the page. Let me show you another tip for your die cuts that you can use. Okay, this is my Gelli plate. It's still in the package just because I keep it in the package. Mine is really, really, really big. And if you're not sure what a Gelli plate is or a gel plate, it is I'm just going to do this really briefly, and I'll do another tutorial or another demo or something in another video. But just if you've never seen one before, this is just real quick. They come in a lot of different sizes. Again, mine is big, and it is a look at that. I don't know if you could see the texture. It's just a silicone plate, and you can do all kinds of things with it. This is the perfect thing to use your die cut scraps for. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, this is my gel plate all set up and ready to go. Again, it's pretty big. This is a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. Just looking at the size of it, and you could see that it's a little bit bigger than a regular 12 by 12 piece of paper. At the time, it was the biggest gel plate that I could get, and it's made by Gelli Arts. And you know what? I'll put a link in the description box. And if you've never seen how it works, here's how it works. And I'm going to demonstrate a way, to use our die cut scraps. And I'm going to use these leaf ones. These same leaf ones I've used before. Here's another one from earlier. Okay, because I got lots of these. And some leftover cutout leaf pieces too that I didn't end up using in the projects just because they didn't fit on my page or whatever it was I was doing. So here's what you do. I picked 3 coordinating colors of acrylic paint. This is just regular old Americana acrylic paint, teal green, turquoise blue, and Hauser light green, and it's made by Deco Art. And I just do, I'm just going to do just a little bit, just every here and there. That's actually probably a little much. Whoa. I should have shaken it a little bit. Okay. Just a bit. That's probably more than some of you are used to. This is the same brayer I used in the other, what was I doing? The scrapbook page, I think. And I'm just gonna roll this out. Now you can do it in whatever, if you want to make a full blend so that it perfectly covers, you can. I kind of like the way that just looks just like that. I think that looks kind of nifty. And now, check this out. I'm going to put down this stencil, die cut, this, and then guess what else I'm going to do? Just because I can, I'm going to pop these just any old way. Just like that. Now, when I take a, let me use a regular 12 by 12 piece of white, okay, and put it right over top. Some people use the brayer on this side. I do that sometimes. I don't feel like it right now because I have quite a lot of paint on there, and I just didn't feel like it. Now while that's there, you know what I'm going to do too? Because I have a big plate, I'm going to use, this is just another piece, and I'm going to go like this right here. Just because I don't want to, I'm sorry if my head was totally in the way. I'm sorry. Alright, watch. Now when I pull this up, then I've got this on one side. Now that is cool, isn't it? Okay, we'll put that to the side. Bam. I've got this on one side. Now, I pull these up. Now here. This is what I was trying to say. Look, even though I'm not done, or I'm done using them, look at that. Now I've slightly painted my leftover leaves to use on another project, and they just look like I went through and painted them. Same with this. Look what happens when I pull this up. Now it's painted on this side. And I can use that on, there's no way I'm done with that. Whoops. If I don't rip it. Okay. No way I'm done with that. Look at that. That's gorgeous. We could do the same thing that I've already showed you, like laying it down on a scrapbook page or something like that. Just like that. That is awesome looking. Now, you want to talk about awesome. Here's the same paper we just laid on the one side. Check this out right here. Let's go like this. Move out of the way, papers. Where were we about? Right there? Sure, why not? Okay. And give me, that's about the size of another one, isn't it? Sure is. Give me this right here. Mm-hmm. Look at that. Now, again, it looks to me like the paint dried kind of quick. That's why I was kind of caking it on. But still, that's really cool. Now, we're not done. By any means, we are not done. Okay. Let's do this. This was the same color we had before, okay? Whoa. You know, you'd think by now I would learn to shake this up. Okay. Now, oh, come on. It's got a little icky to it, and I don't know why. I'm going to squeeze that off to the side there. It's like there. It was just a little gunky bubble in there. Okay. I don't know what's happening with my paints. Now this one, oh no. I know what it is. I must have left the top open or something when I went to go answer the phone or do something. Okay, now, ooh, let's do this. Let's do this side, okay? These are the ones we just did, remember? Oh, look, some of these are embossed already. That'll be nifty. It looks like I don't have a whole bunch left right there. This one's only a half one, so we'll make it look like it's coming out of the top. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some of these. I have other ones too. Here's a circle. Okay. These are just other pieces from die cut. I call them scraps, even though they're not really scraps, because guess what? They just didn't fit on projects. Here's a cross. More leaves. Here's a random circle thing. Let's go like that. If you've never used a jelly plate, or a gel plate of any kind, important to know that whatever you stick down there, I could stick my fingerprint right on there and it is going to make an impression no matter what. So some of these are textured, some of them are not. Okay. Awesome. Same piece that we did earlier, okay? Right in the middle this time. You know what? This time I will do this and just show you the difference. Now, I'm not trying to make any design on this back piece here. I'm just trying to really press it into the plate. Okay. Maybe not quite so hard. I don't know my own strength, apparently. Okay. And let's get this same piece from before. and go right here. I don't much need the brayer just for that. Cool. And here's this same piece from before, right here. And I may be done with that piece of paper and I may not. I may just keep layering and layering and layering until I love it. There we go. Look at that. That is so neat. Yep, we can keep layering and layering. Okay, this is sort of a collection of additional ideas here to use with your die cut scraps. For example, if you've been, now these are the ones we just pulled off of the Gelli plate, okay, and it's from, I was going through and using the same shape on a bunch of different things, and then I just didn't end up using them. That's fine, I can use these painted ones on something else. For these other cutouts, you know what I did is I just took any sort of sentiment stamp and I did a bunch. I ended up using them on some projects and throwing them into a you know, clear container or something to store, and then if I make a nice card background, you ever do where you make like a nice card background or a nice scrapbook page and you just need like one quick something, you can always, these are already then pre-done, you've basically made your own sentiment things to use later, or when you're doing rapid fire cards you can pull these out and just go and put them all down. And so that's another idea. Now when you're left with this, instead of showing you the process bit by bit, I thought I'd show you some finished cards that I made using another piece, this exact piece. Look right here. I don't know if you can see. Right, let me show you here. I don't know if you can see it on this one quite as well. Maybe not. But this is all, see how they've been covered with paint? So you don't necessarily see. Maybe you can see it on this one a bit better. I think you can. Yeah, look right there. See that? See that? Boom, boom, boom. That's this piece right here. And I had just a scrap of it. And see that right there? It's this piece. And it just gives it some other, when you look far away, of course you don't notice it. It just looks like some neat layers with some string. There's another scrap of, this is how I might use my Gelli printed paper. This is how I might use, remember I said don't throw away those paper strips, excuse my reach. These paper strips when you're trimming off paper, this is what I meant, because now you can hand write something that fits perfectly, and it fits perfectly. And again, this is just a little bit of white and orange paint to get that look. Okay. Here's another card using leftover. Now here's this leaf cutout that we just used. Again, I could use it on this side, cut out on the back, which is exactly what I had done from a previous project. And if you look close, you can see there's the little leaf cutout. I'm not trying to make this look like a leaf card, but the dimension and the interest that it adds, just with a little bit of paint, it just makes it look interesting. Here's a little bit of washi tape. There's some, this is a scrap of a piece of that I ran through my Big Shot. Okay, using this same one. Here's this, once I die cut these on another project, I had a few left over, and this is the piece that I used to cut from. And when I was done, I ran it. Now see how this is not embossed? When I was done, I ran the leftover. I ran this, the leftover piece, through a Sizzix there, or through an embossing folder. Added a little bit of paint, just a bit. It was like just a little bit. And this was a scrap of something I saw sitting there. And now you can just see a hint of that. And it just makes it a little bit more interesting. Underneath that is a paint sample. See? Not the same kind, but as a base, so that you can see some color through it. Those are just a few ideas of how you can use your die cut scraps to make really, really interesting projects, stretch your supplies, and just to use what you have. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Sandpaper Road on YouTube. Don't forget to click on the bell to receive notifications for whenever I post new stuff. And follow Sandpaper Road on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And don't forget to visit Sandpaper Road on Etsy to purchase items or to request custom orders. And I thank you so much for being a faithful subscriber and for giving me all your ideas and your feedback. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are great. Hope this helps you stretch your supplies and use what you have. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.